The alarm on the sparring deck screamed before I even finished tying my boots, and every eye on that deck turned toward me at once. My name is Mira, and in less than 60 seconds, 3 cadets twice my size were about to learn something about themselves that no lecture could ever teach. I had told them already. I had told them clearly, calmly, more than once. But young men who grow up believing size decides every outcome rarely listen the first time. Sometimes they need the floor to explain it for me. The training cruiser Horizon Vale was not a quiet place that morning. Word had spread through the corridors overnight, the way rumors always do among restless cadets with too much energy and too little humility. A human girl, they whispered, supposedly stronger than her size suggested, supposedly faster than anyone had a right to be. Some called it exaggeration. Others called it a challenge waiting to happen. Daniel, Oren, and Felix decided it was the second one. They were cadets from a heavy gravity world, built wide and solid, trained since childhood to trust their strength above everything else. To them, strength was truth, speed was a rumor, and rumors, in their eyes, existed only to be broken. I met them the day before in the mess hall, and I remember exactly how it started, because I remember trying to stop it before it began. Daniel slid his tray across from mine without asking, his shoulders filling the space like a wall deciding to sit down. "They say your body reacts faster than your mind can think," he said, studying me the way someone studies a puzzle they already assume they can solve. "That's true," I said, "but speed is not the same as invincibility. I still feel every fall. I still bruise. I am not a myth." Oren leaned in from the side, arms crossed, unconvinced. "Then prove it is only a rumor. Meet us tomorrow, sparring deck. Early, before drills begin." I looked at each of them slowly, trying to make them understand something that words alone rarely fix. "I will not enjoy hurting any of you," I said. "And I promise you will not enjoy what happens if you underestimate what your own bodies are capable of once mine reacts. Please, choose a different way to test this." Felix, the quietest of the 3, only smiled faintly, the kind of smile that comes from confidence built entirely on assumption. Deathworld cadets never refuse a challenge. It is known. I sighed. "Then let it be known that I tried to warn you." That warning meant nothing by morning. By the time I stepped onto the sparring deck, a small crowd had already gathered behind the observation glass, whispering, eager, hungry for a story to carry back to their bunks. Chief Officer Callahan stood near the control panel, arms folded, watching me with an expression that mixed worry and quiet curiosity. "You sure about this?" he asked. "No," I said honestly, "but they are." Daniel stepped onto the mat first, rolling his shoulders, cracking his knuckles with theatrical confidence. The deck lights reflected off his broad frame, and for a moment, I understood exactly why people believed size alone decided outcomes. He looked immovable. He was not. The moment he charged, I felt my body respond before my mind finished processing the danger. That is the part people never truly understand about growing up on a world built to test survival every single day. Instinct does not wait for permission. It moves first and explains itself later. I shifted just enough, letting his own momentum carry him forward into empty space where I used to be. He did not stop in time. His shoulder met the reinforced wall behind me, with a deep, hollow thud that echoed across the deck, and the crowd gasped as one. He staggered back, dazed, blinking in confusion, more surprised than hurt. Oren did not learn from what he had just watched. If anything, he saw it as invitation rather than warning. He came in lower this time, arms wide, trying to trap me before I could slip past him again. But trapping someone requires predicting where they will be next, and my body had already decided the answer before his mind finished the question. I dropped low, twisted beneath his reaching arms, and rose again, already turning away, already gone from where he expected me to remain. His own forward motion carried him straight into the same wall Daniel had just left dented. The crowd behind the glass erupted into a mixture of laughter and disbelief. Felix did not move immediately. He stood still, studying both of his friends, now recovering against the same wall, piecing together something the other two had missed entirely. "You never touched them," he said slowly. "They ran into the wall themselves." "Yes," I said, breathing steady despite the pounding of my heart. "I am not stronger than you. I am not tougher than the world you grew up on. What I have is instinct built from thousands of years of learning how not to be where danger lands. It is not power. It is habit. A habit I cannot turn off, even when I want to." Felix lowered his hands, understanding settling into his expression. "You really did try to warn us." "I really did." Daniel pushed himself upright, embarrassed but oddly amused, rubbing his shoulder while glancing at the dent behind him. "Remind me never to charge in a straight line again," he muttered. Oren laughed despite himself, a low rumble of disbelief and grudging respect. "I walked right into that one." Chief Officer Callahan's voice crackled over the deck speaker, dry and clearly holding back a smile. "Cadets Daniel and Oren, report to medical for a scan, mandatory, not optional. Cadet Mira, nice footwork. Someone repair that wall before the captain notices." I offered my hand to help Oren rise, and he took it without hesitation, his grip gentler than before, as if some part of him finally understood there was nothing left to prove through force. "Same time next week?" he asked, though this time it did not sound like a challenge. It sounded like curiosity. "Only if we practice the actual technique," I said, "not the myth surrounding it." He considered this and nodded. Fair enough. Behind him, Daniel was already retelling the story to a fresh group of cadets gathering near the entrance, and I could hear the details growing bigger with every retelling. The charge became faster. The wall became thicker. I became taller in his description, more dramatic, more impossible. I did not correct him. Some stories grow because people need something exciting to believe in, and there is no harm in letting curiosity feed itself, so long as no one gets truly hurt chasing the legend. Later that day, as I walked through the corridor toward my next assignment, Felix caught up beside me, his pace calm and thoughtful. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Of course." "Does it ever feel lonely, being the only one who understands what your body is truly capable of?" I thought about the question longer than I expected to. "Sometimes," I admitted, "people either see me as fragile because I am smaller, or as unstoppable because of rumors. Neither picture is accurate. I am simply someone who grew up needing to react quickly to survive, and that instinct never really leaves, even here, far from home." Felix nodded slowly. "I think I understand a little more now. That is more than most people manage on their first try," I said, smiling. We walked together in comfortable silence for a while, the corridor humming quietly with the sound of the ship moving steadily through open space. For the first time since arriving on the horizon veil, I felt something close to ease settle into my chest, as if a small piece of tension I had carried since boarding had finally loosened. The next morning, when I returned to the sparring deck, expecting perhaps another challenge born from stubborn pride, I found something different waiting instead. Daniel, Oren, and Felix stood together near the mat, not with clenched fists or eager grins, but with quiet curiosity, written plainly across their expressions. "We would like to learn," Daniel said simply, "not to prove anything, just to understand." I studied them for a long moment, searching for any trace of the arrogance from the day before, and found none. "All right," I said, "but this time, we start with patience, not challenge." We spent that morning moving slowly through simple drills, learning to read weight shifts, learning to recognize the small signs that come just before motion begins. There were no walls dented that day, no gasps from onlookers, only steady breathing, quiet focus, and the sound of feet adjusting carefully across the mat. By the end of the session, Oren wiped sweat from his brow and grinned. "This is harder than charging blindly." "Everything meaningful usually is," I replied. As the cruiser continued its quiet journey through the stars, I found myself thinking about how quickly assumptions could shift once curiosity replaced pride. The story cadets told about me would keep growing. Taller walls, faster charges, more impossible details with every retelling. But the truth remained simple and steady beneath all of it. I was not a legend. I was not an unstoppable force built purely for spectacle. I was someone shaped by a difficult world, carrying instincts that reacted before thought could catch up, doing my best to guide others toward understanding rather than fear. And sometimes, the most powerful lesson does not come from proving strength at all. It comes from someone finally choosing to listen.